Hey there and welcome back to another My Hero Academia video. And today we'll be talking about the latest episode to drop, episode 2, Mirko, the number 5 hero, which pretty much follows up from the events of the previous episode with the two simultaneous raids, with the major plot threads being Mirko going hardcore murder bunny mode and Kaminari getting his own moment to shine in the opening stage of the Mountain Villa battle. And yeah, with all that being said, let's jump into the episode. So we start off the episode reliving Mirko busting into Garaki's underground lab and slaughtering poor little Johnny, the cutest of the Nomus, and watching Garaki grieve his death, remembering how proud that he made him, and the happy times they shared together. And suddenly, this guy has jumped from evil mad scientist to straight up freak. These Nomus are all corpses taken against their will and transformed, right? So that little Johnny was once a person, and he's snuggling it in his flashback like it's his kid or his pet or something. Ugh, gross. And then, just before the intro plays, just to rub salt in the wound a little bit, Mirko destroys a whole bunch of other Nomu that never even got the chance to leave their test tubes. Garaki in shambles right now. And after the intro plays, we return to some of the more minor heroes at the hospital, where they're still evacuating everybody that they can, and are being coordinated by Mandalay, with Mirko then making contact with the group and telling them that she's found Garaki and a strong-looking Nomu. And when asked if it's actually the real Garaki or if it's another double, she replies she doesn't know. But she's soon going to find out, as she's going to kick him and see what happens to his body. And at this point, she's basically Bakugo as an adult woman with a bunny quirk, after getting over the majority of the anger issues and inferiority complex. But everything else, the mannerisms, the intensity, the aggression, the heroic drive, that's all Bakugo. I mean, even the things that she actually says throughout the episode, they just feel very Bakugo, giving us a preview of what he could be like as he continues to mature and develop into his powers. Endeavor then tells Mirko to just deal with Garaki, and that he would like to come and help her, but he has a shit ton of Nomu to deal with before he can go anywhere. So Crust and a few other heroes go down to follow her, whilst Endeavor and Aizawa double team the Nomu in the hallways to devastating effect in a pretty cool confrontation. Aizawa blocks their quirks, Endeavor incinerates. A great double team, and even Endeavor knows it, as he tells Aizawa that it's never too late to join his agency and become his newest sidekick. Not a co-hero, a sidekick. A good bit of banter, honestly. And Aizawa responds by telling him that he needs to look after his students instead, basically saying, sorry man, I'm too busy raising your son for you. But yeah, there's just hordes of these things. An endless stream of Nomu. But no time for seeing the plebs get wasted, because we need to check in on what the hero support team's doing in the city, where Deku and Co get the message that the hospital battle's begun, and they need to urgently start evacuating as many people as they can. And so, after some patented Bakugo rage at people who are evacuating too slowly, screaming at them through their house's doorbell intercom, Deku and the group split up to cover as much ground as they can, and evacuate as many people as possible, as we cut to Crust running through the hallways, trying to catch up with Mirko. And at this point we get to see the carnage that she's left in her wake, completely obliterating these low-grade Nomu. But there's still plenty more. And so, Crust has to get to work, but we cut away at this stage because it's not like we're going to be watching this guy tear into low-tier foot soldiers. It's not going to be very exciting. Which is why we then return to Mirko, who's about to kick Garaki's head off, who is absolutely shitting himself, nose running, tears streaming down his face. But she's intercepted by a little Nomu called Mocha, a Nomu who has twice his quirk, and distracts her long enough for Garaki to summon a bunch of high-end Nomu. And so, usually these things would probably be too much for Mirko to fight. After all, just one of these managed to push Endeavor to his limits. But since they're fresh out of the tube and they haven't had time to acclimatise, they're going to be much weaker, not living up to their full potential. But they're still insanely strong, as we learn when one of them hits Mirko for a home run. Woof, that's gotta hurt. And then they speak and it's all very creepy as they stutter and splutter about heroes. And then Crust bursts in and one of them goes after him, leaving the rest for Mirko to fight in order to reach the doctor. And speaking of which, the doc has retreated further into the lab and is clicking away on his computer, and we get a little bit of exposition about Nomu and their rankings, and basically there's 3 main tiers, the low tier weaklings, mid tier, and high tiers, but they're all just mindless creatures that need to be controlled by their commander. They can't think. Above these are the high end Nomu, the ones who can speak and think and make tactical decisions. They can act off their own volition in pursuit of their master's goals, and so they're pretty much the only Nomu that are going to have any real narrative relevance going forward. Mindless goons just aren't going to cut the mustard at this stage of the story as a compelling villain. They'd feel like a regression. But a high-end Nomu is a good way to give side heroes a bit of a story, whilst keeping them away from the main villains that Deku has to fight as he gets stronger and stronger. Although, considering All for One was needed to mass produce them, I suppose after this arc they're not going to have as much relevance going forward anyway, as their stock will be depleted. Garaki then reveals that he and Shigaraki have no real way to escape from the lab now that Johnny and Mocha are both dead, and so he simply needs to press on and try to finish Shigaraki's treatment, whilst the high-ends hold off Mirko and the others, especially since Mirko's out for his blood now, listening in for him, taunting him, screaming that she's gonna get him. And at this point, even the high-end Nomu are shocked that she's still alive after getting smashed earlier. And she tells them that she cancelled out the shock with her legs, because of course she did. And then, cue dramatic battle music, she jumps into the fight, trying to get past them without having to attack anybody to get to Garaki. But of course, that doesn't work out too well, and so she has to battle them. And yeah, she's pretty much a beast and she does a pretty good job with her fighting, but of course, the numbers game catches up with her, and one of them has a long-range quirk that turns her arm into mincemeat. Yuck. But she kills him pretty quickly after that, leaving her with 3 more to contend with, and seemingly not even being fazed by the fact that her arm is just a piece of floppy purple skin at this point. And then she even has time to taunt them, calling them zombies and saying they're not going to defeat her. Yeah, major Bakugo vibes here. And then we take a step back from that storyline and head over to the Mountain Villa, where the assault is moments away from taking place, and we start off by following the rearguard of the students. And of course, the random tiger hero who's there supervising them. And here we see that Jiro's seemingly pretty worried. She's quite sure that Tokoyami's going to be okay, but she's really worried about Kaminari. So on one hand, it's clear that we're moving into some romantic territory, methinks. And then on the other hand, guess they all still think of this guy as a bit of a spud. Bad luck. But maybe they're not too far off. Because as he's charging into battle, he is absolutely shitting himself in fear. Although he did become my most relatable character in the franchise when Midnight tells him that he'd previously consented to being part of the attack squad, and he replies that he just didn't want to refuse in front of everybody and look like a coward. And honestly, so true. It's pretty crazy that they're having a 15-year-old kid charge into a deadly battlefield? And why are the first years all on the front lines? Where are the older UA kids? I mean, yeah, Sun Eater's here, but what about the others? Surely they'd be there too. Do we just not see their POV? Or are these first years just considered massive prodigies? I mean, what the hell is Tailman gonna do? But back to Kaminari, Midnight and Tokoyami do their best to calm him down and hype him up, with mixed results. And of course, at the same time, Skeptic has realised they're about to be attacked, and rages about how stupid Twice was for spilling everything to Hawks like he did. And so he starts screaming orders to prepare for battle as Cementos tears the building open with his quirk, and then an electric villain makes an appearance, so this is clearly going to be Kaminari's big moment. Probably his only big moment for the entire franchise. But anyway, Midnight tells Kaminari to think of somebody that he's fighting for, that he wants to protect, in order to give him courage. And then in the cutest moment this show's had in quite a while, he thinks of Jiro. Aww. And it gives him the determination to fight. And so he does. And he absorbs the massive electric attack that would have wiped out half their forces in one go. And nullifies one of their leaders pretty much instantly. A massive moment for him. And it made him look like an enormous badass. You love to see it. And so, there we end episode 2. And with the preview promising even more action at the Mountain Villa, and the showdown between Hawks and Twice, which is going to prove to be very emotionally charged. I really can't wait. I'm really loving that the show's come back with a bang, and I just hope it maintains this vibe the whole way through. I'm really loving it. But that being said, these are just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode? You like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.